journey is never a smooth one, okay? It is always packed with challenges, all right? And challenges comes and go along the way. Okay? During your PhD journey, you might experience a lot of issues, including family issues, financial issues, struggle. Emotionally, you may have breakdowns and things like that, but that's normal in PhD. So I advise you all to make sure that you'll be able to continue with the journey. You should envision the end, meaning you should see yourself finishing the PhD, going to the stage, getting your scroll. So set your goals, okay, and make sure you put a push factor for yourself to finish the PhD, right? And then you have to believe in yourself, of course. All right. Setting a push factor, meaning do not procrastinate. Okay. And you should continue reminding yourself that you have to devote several hours a day reading, writing, doing the analysis, writing again. Go into your thesis back again and again and again. Okay. So you have to set the push factor. A PhD it has its own roadmap. When you start your PhD, you must set a timeline. Therefore, usually you will hear when your supervisor tell you where's your Gantt chart, okay? What's your milestone? Which one have you achieved? You have not achieved. What should you do next and things like that. And then some may think that 3 years PhD is impossible, but actually it is possible. Okay, with consistent determination, with consistent effort, okay, or consistent devotion into that your work, then you'll be able to finish it within 3 years. Okay, nothing is impossible. All right, always plan carefully and stay alert on timings, okay? Meaning when you should do proposal defense, when should you collect data, when to analyze, okay? And finally, you can come up to Viva, okay? And one of the requirements before you before submitting your thesis for Viva examination is to have at least one publication in a Scopus journal. So, and of course, you have to stay on track to make sure that your mission is accomplished. Okay. And then you come to the end, nearing the end, which is Viva VOCE, okay, which is oral examination. The day when you have submitted your thesis, okay, you actually have reached a point where you are almost done. It's 90% completion of the journey. Your Viva and probably the correction and submitting the hardbound would be another 10%. Viva is actually a session for the examiner to confirm with you, to assess the originality and the contribution of your research. Once you have submitted your thesis for examination, and then what do you need to do? Okay. Of course, you need to prepare your slides, okay? And your slide shouldn't be too wordy. It should be a simple slide, understandable, and it reflects what's inside your thesis, okay? And normally, you don't. We don't want you to prepare lengthy slides, okay? Limit it between 25 to 30 slides maximum. 30 is maximum, okay? So your slide should be simple, precise, shouldn't have lengthy sentences or it's like an essay in one slide, okay? Or try to put a lot of diagrams or infographics, okay, for the audience to better understand, right? And highlight the key results and contribution. Okay, these are the things that you should embed in your slide. And usually you're only given a 20 minutes presentation, okay, during the Viva. And how are you going to summarize your 300 pages thesis in 20 minutes? So this is another challenge where you need to find out what are you going to highlight the key points that you're going to highlight during the presentation, okay, rather than describing the whole thesis from A to Z. You need to highlight the key points, the important things. And then after your presentation, usually it will continue with Q&A session, okay. This Q&A session is always a session where examiners want to confirm, okay? They want to ask you on the evidences of your contribution, the originality of the thesis, okay? And they also want to test whether you have done the study, okay? And then you know what you're doing, okay? And then to see what is the strength of your the research, to highlight to you if there's any issues on spellings, on technical terms, or citation or publication and things like that. And finally, they want to tell you the result. Okay, so basically this is the cycle of the Viva, okay, where you have a 20 minutes presentation, Q&A, and you are given the result. But before you come into a Viva, usually you have started preparing your slides, but your slides is not the only thing, okay? You yourself have to be well prepared, mentally prepared, okay, and physically prepared. Physically meaning you have to be healthy at the time, okay? Please don't fall sick, all right? So you have to prepare your thesis. You must bring your own thesis, okay, a copy of thesis with post-it notes, okay, or markers. Okay, bring your pen and notebook for you to jot down any comments or notes that the examiners, ask you to take notes. Okay. Usually, this thesis is already a thesis which you have gone through again and again before the Viva. Usually what candidate do is once they have submitted the thesis for examination, that will be the thesis given to the examiner. After once you have noted any issues or any errors in your thesis, mark it properly in your own thesis. Then when examiner asks you, you are ready to answer. Okay. And then of course you have to bring your slides. You have to make sure that your slides are ready. And you have tested, doing a presentation before the actual one, right? And then check your laptop. Be ready with your pool of data and analysis results. And make sure the internet connection is stable in case you need an internet access during the Viva. Who knows, the examiners ask you on certain things and then you need to browse the internet. This would be the setting in the Viva room. In the Viva session, you will have a chairman. And in UTM, the chairman must be a professor. The chairman is assisted by an assistant chairman, and this assistant chairman will jot down or take notes on what are the comments and corrections that need to be done, and they will transmit it in the chairman's report. And then you're going to have an external examiner, someone out of UTM. You're going to have an internal examiner, someone internal, and usually someone from your own faculty. These two examiners will be able to cover the whole area in your research. We cannot simply select someone which is not within the background of the research. And you're going to have your supervisor, but usually supervisor will stay silent. Supervisors are not supposed to say anything when you present. If you have a co-supervisor, then he or she will also be in the session. And of course, the candidate. But nowadays, due to COVID-19, okay, since April, our Viva session has been set to be done online. I think this online Viva will continue until end of the year. If there's no further instruction from our SPS, then we will continue with online Viva. Setting on online Viva would be like an online session now, but the comments, the chairperson, the key people that's going to be in the Viva session will still be the same. Those who are going to have their Viva soon, especially online, the school will going to conduct a technical testing several days before the actual Viva to make sure that your connection internet connection is good, audio and video quality will be good. Next one would be the presentation slide. Why 25 slides? Because you're given only 20 minutes. You cannot afford to have 50 or 60 slides. So make sure your slides are compressed. It has a compressed idea, a summary of your thesis. You're going to have to highlight on the background of your research, of your study, highlight the research problem or gap, and of course, you put research question and research objective. So devote several slides for each part. Maybe 3 slides on the background, 3 or 4 slides. As for your literature review here, you don't have to put all the lengthy essays or put a chunk there in your slides. That's not how it works, okay? You put the key point and then show your model or your framework. Research method is usually like 3, but put the cycle or flow of your method in a diagram. Most of it will go to your results and discussion. As for discussion, you point out what are the key importance, the strength of your thesis, and of course, in the end, you conclude. Your conclusion should be in maybe 1 sentence or 2 sentences only. At this point of time, when you have submitted your thesis, okay, and when you are there during the Viva, it is presumed that you know inside out of your thesis already. And also, we expect the examiner have read the thesis through. The presentation is just to highlight the key points, okay? It cannot be lengthy, okay? Okay, before you go for the actual Viva, I advise you to do a mock presentation with your supervisor, maybe twice, or at least must be 1 is the minimum number. But it will be good if you practice twice, perhaps with your supervisor. And during the presentation, you need to be careful with your tone and intonation, because this would reflect, your personality, your professionalism. You must greet the chairman. You guys must greet the panel of examiners, okay, the supervisor. So at this point of time, where you are already in the Viva room, speak like you're telling an interesting story of your research to the audience. Try to enjoy the session. So next key point is that you need to have good eye contact and responsiveness to the audience. Okay, make sure you don't. Make sure you continue to have good eye contact with the audience, okay, when you present. Next one is interaction with audience. Respond accordingly to the questions. Okay, and then when you present and defending your ideas, okay, it should promote confidence on the strength and values of your thesis. Okay, so after your presentation, okay, what will happen? Okay, this will be the time where you are feeling more nervous than ever before, where you don't know what to expect from the examiners. Because examiners can just pop any questions randomly, okay? But of course, it will be related to your study. But you cannot expect the exact question that they would ask. Among the common questions, okay, is examiners will usually ask you, why is it important to embark on the study that you have taken? Okay, why? What's the reason? Okay, and then what's the real problem? What's the real gap? Okay, when your thesis is clear enough, all these would not be an issue anymore. But sometimes you know your study, but the write-up is not very clear. So that will make the examiner pose a lot of questions. Okay, so before you submit your thesis, make sure that your thesis is self-explanatory. Such questions that I've mentioned here, the common questions. So make sure that your thesis is covers, these key points, meaning your thesis already highlight the importance, okay, to embark on your study. You as the candidate, how do you respond to examiner's question? So one thing I would like to remind you all is that do not be too defensive, or do not be too confident or overconfident. Okay, this is not good, because why? Being too defensive, the examiners will have some certain impression of you on you when you are being too defensive. Then it might affect your result. So just be careful. Okay, try to remind yourself to be subtle, okay, to be humble, okay, and answer examiner's question with high professionalism. But you cannot say I don't know. You must know everything from your or for your thesis inside out. Answering by saying I don't know is definitely not the answer. Okay, and you cannot blame your supervisor for whatever that you have done in your thesis. Your supervisor may have advised or guide you, but the rest of the work is your own. Okay, that's why in research you have to be an independent researcher. Okay, so after your Viva, okay, make sure you come back refreshed, continue with your correction. So as for your correction, okay, do not work in silo. So you need to discuss it with your supervisor. And you may want to discuss it with some other expert just to clarify a few things. And then as for the correction itself, you must prepare table of listing of correction. If not, you can always ask the academic staff on postgraduate study. Usually they have a template on table of correction. And then make sure you refer to the marked comment in the thesis. After you submit the hardbound thesis, and the Senate committee will going to have a meeting and approve it, the date of your PhD award would be the date when the examiner last confirmed your correction. So the date of your award PhD degree is not on the date of the Senate meeting. It will be effective from the date that the last time that the examiners approved or confirmed your correction. There's some other key take-home tips or key points that you need to be reminded of once the Senate has approved your thesis. This would be a moment of a lifetime, the much awaited graduation ceremony that you've been waiting for. When you want to come to the stage, before that, of course, you need to work really, really hard, okay, to make sure everything goes according to plan. Well, yes, definitely yes. During your Viva session, when you presented and during your QA, supervisor will not be able to say anything. Only after when they've discussed the result based on the presentation, based on the thesis that has been read by the examiners, then they will ask the supervisor, how do you find the student? Then at that time, the supervisor will tell the examiners that, okay, this student is very committed, he has been a good student, diligent, things like that. Usually, supervisor, when they are given the opportunity to defend, they will defend the student. Okay, so make sure that you have good relationship with the supervisor. This is one of the tips that will make the examiner feel honored, that they are being cited in the thesis. You appreciate, you acknowledge their work, okay? Their work in your thesis, and it's related. So it's gonna affect the examining emotionally. The trick is, do not cite your own paper as the main or key citation. If you think that your publications is related, it may come like as a sub. But do not cite your own paper again and again. That will be too much. Cite other people. Okay, prominent authors. And let's say examiner asks about your publication, so you can tell them my publication has been cited by other papers, hundred of times, or things like that. You yourself cite yourself maybe once or twice. That's it. Okay, don't overdo it. In UTM, so far we are okay. It's between 1 to 3 months average that you get that you from the day you submit your thesis to have your Viva. Okay. So to everyone, all the best in your PhD. See you in big stage on the big stage one day.